Dodgers or Jays? It sounds pointless for Rays fans, but there is a right side.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Rays podcast. Locked On Rays is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And we are Kevin and Ulises.
And we are lifelong Rays fans who have been podcasting about the Tampa Bay Rays since 2019.
Later on today's show, we discuss Edwin Uceta's closer potential. In a few minutes, why Taylor Walls is likely to get the opening day nod at shortstop. But to start, it is Dodgers versus Blue Jays in the World Series. And here's who you need to root for as a Rays fan.
And we're going to talk about all of that thanks to FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Kevin, I will tell you this. As a Rays fan, it makes sense to root for the Dodgers and not the Blue Jays. And I'll explain why. People I know are so upset right now at that. They're throwing things around the room. They're swerving on the road. How dare you, as a Rays fan, root for the Dodgers?
You just caused a couple of car accidents and probably a couple road rage incidents. You are definitely the reason for I-4 being a mess later on this week.
Oh, that's a lot to carry. I'll explain why, folks. If you dislike what the Dodgers are doing with the luxury tax, if you dislike what the Dodgers are doing with deferments, if you dislike what they're doing with seemingly an endless pocketbook and getting all the superstars in their rotation and in their lineup, well, then you have to root for the Dodgers. Why? Because you have to break status quo. If you want to actually see change in MLB, then something really big has to happen. MLB does not change lightly. It takes a long time, more than other leagues, for MLB to say, oh, okay, we're going to catch up and do this thing now. Well, something so big has to happen for these all things, the luxury tax and the deferments and all of the things that you blame the Dodgers for doing so. We have to see the Dodgers overtake the sport for just a little bit so that the owners, the commissioner, the public just kind of sees this whole thing and go, okay, well, something is afoot here. We need to address this because the Dodgers won in 2024. Let's say they win in 2025. Let's say they win in 2026. And then we have a possible lockout for the CBA negotiations. That's what would actually break the status quo. A big spotlight on the Dodgers are breaking baseball. The Dodgers are winning so much. We have to address this. And that's why Rays fans that want to see actual change need to root for the Dodgers, Kev.
Unless the higher-ups in MLB want the Dodgers to continuously win, which means more Shohei Ohtani on the big screen for longer and deep into October. Your point is valid. It can sometimes take baseball a while to change, and it usually takes something catastrophic or noteworthy to happen. Now, if something like a salary cap and eliminating deferments were to happen, it would happen under the Rob Manfred regime and not the Bud Selig regime. I mean, how long have we been talking about salary cap issues? Like 30 years at least. Yeah. I remember I was in grade school. I know I'm aging myself a little bit, and that had been an ongoing point of contention and conversation. But we've seen all the moves and mechanics and ways to address and in their idea improve or enhance baseball or bring it into the 21st century with pitch clock and trying to make it more friendly for offenses with larger bases and eliminating of shifts to some extent. So we've seen progressive leadership from Rob Manfred, and maybe it does take something like this where the Dodgers are winning the whole thing every other year. And I'll also add, in addition to, and again, because the Rays aren't in it, it's I'm kind of whatever about the World Series, but on a side note, I would rather have the Dodgers win it than the Blue Jays, because the Blue Jays are an AL East rival
Right.
of ours. So I don't want to give them any, kudos for winning the whole thing, and definitely not if it was the Red Sox or the Yankees. But you think if, I'm just kind of reading the tea leaves a little bit, if the Blue Jays were to win the World Series and get all that recognition that comes with that, well, you might have some free agents out there, some players out there that might be more apt to sign with the Blue Jays than maybe the Rays or somebody else, depending on how all the money shakes out.
Exactly, which would also harm the Rays in the aspect of the division. Very, very good point. And let's say the Jays win, right? Well, then that's not breaking status quo. Then the whole argument is like, see, you can do it without being the Dodgers. You can win it, even though the Jays have the fifth highest payroll in MLB, and nobody wants to talk
maybe
about
that's
it.
the thing is, okay, in order to make it to the World Series, you're going to have a payroll above $230 million, whether it's $230 million or $350 million. Okay, nobody else is going to be able to compete. And that's what we've been saying about the Rays for years is, not saying that you have to spend $200 million, but even if you want a taste at the World Series, your payroll has to be at least
above 100. Above 100.
Above 100.
If you looked at since 2012, I think I saw this on Twitter, since 2012, the Rays have been the World Series finalist that has the lowest payroll since 2012, at 27th in 2020 World Series. So like, we have to break our own personal record to achieve, because nobody's doing what the Rays are doing. So if you want some quote unquote help from Manfred, the commissioner, and MLB and the public, then the Dodgers have to just annihilate the Jays in 2025, and they have to annihilate in 2026, so that we can all point and say, this is an issue. This is a problem. Because if the Jays win, and if somebody else wins next year, even if the Dodgers do well, then it's not breaking status quo. It's not a big event. I know it goes against what small market or small revenue rather people would think. Oh, why would we root for the Dodgers, for the big bad team? Because you want change.
Yeah,
and if you want change, this is what happens.
And I will say this, just as an aside, beyond the change conversation here, there are some notable former Rays players on the Dodgers. With Blake Snell, like how, and not to bring up sour grapes from 2020, but it would be interesting and kind of funny in a way if, he pitches game one and then the next game that he goes like 8 innings deep both times. And he shows that, okay, I can pitch deep in a World Series and win the game for my team.
Yeah, that would, I think that would be what we all consider crude humor or dim humor.
Gallows humor, if you will.
Gallows humor. Yeah, for all Rays fans, that's exactly what that would be. But from big powerhouses to big gloves, let's talk shortstops.
Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all of our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, investments, it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. And that's why I started using Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. It's helped me organize my accounts, track my spending, and just get a better handle on my investments without having to touch a single spreadsheet. So be like me. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Playing Prize Picks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections, like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley rushing for a touchdown. And just like that, you are in the game. This is also what I love about Prize Picks. I love how quick it is. You can make your lineup in under a minute, and they've also added stacks. So if I want to ride with a player, I can select their pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns all in one lineup. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead, download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB, LOCKEDONMLB, for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right.
Thank you for joining us at Locked On Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Taylor Walls is most likely the opening day starter at shortstop than Carson Williams. Kevin, Carson, let's talk about what he did in 2025. 106 plate appearances, a slash line of 172, 219, 354. That's a 573 OPS. He did show a lot of pop. Five home runs in 106 plate appearances. That's pretty nice. That's 25, 30 home run potential from the shortstop position. We like that. What we don't like so much is the lack of plate discipline, which is highlighted with a K rate of 41.5%. He's 22. He could use some seasoning back in AAA and then get an early call up in 2026. At least that's my barometer right now. How about yours?
Yeah, I agree. And kind of going back to our conversation earlier this week, I mean, as far as I know and understand, and looking at some of the reports, he's not going to be playing in Winter League ball this year. And I feel like that would have been a good opportunity for him to develop and foster and work on some of the issues that he dealt with at the big league club. I think that, yes, it's not the sexiest option that Taylor Walls is going to be the opening day shortstop, but it's the steady option for now. In fact, if you look at it, Carson Williams' offensive numbers, you could argue, were worse than Taylor Walls in 2025. Now, I think Carson Williams has a much higher ceiling because he is more of the full package in the full picture. But I think Taylor Walls, assuming he doesn't get hurt, would seem like a guy that you give the run to at short for the first couple weeks, maybe first month plus in the season. In that, I think would allow Carson Williams time to build confidence and refine some of those areas that he had issue with at the big league club. Because any prospect, maybe outside of Wander Franco, can make adjustments on the fly at the big league level. Carson, like 99% of the prospects out there, you get told and instructed something, you're tweaking this, you're tweaking that. It's best to do it in the minor leagues where the games don't really count as much as in the major league. So what I would like, I'm with you. I would like to see him kind of find a groove, really get into a groove in AAA before getting that call up. Kind of show us that, make it to the point where we cannot hold you down anymore. And I feel like in 2025, he was kind of called up by injury. Circumstances. So, because we didn't really have Ha-Seong Kim at all. It's like Carson Williams wasn't really like he was tearing the cover off the ball, but he still had the issue of the strikeout rate and so forth. You could still see some things that I don't know how well that's going to translate at the big league level. But I think for him to be able to settle in AAA, see that the strikeout rate's lower, see that maybe the walk rate's a little bit higher, make sure that the defense is there along with the power. I think that would be a solid move to ease him in. And it's not it certainly wouldn't be the first time the Rays have done something like this. Jonathan Aranda pretty much dealt with it year in and year out, among other players.
And Junior Caminero was the last one. They didn't even give it to him. I know he got hurt, but even when it was seemingly his to take, the plan was for him to start in AAA. So, barring injury, of course, the injury didn't happen, but regardless, if it happens to a guy as talented as Junior Caminero, it's going to happen to Carson Williams. And that's not knocking Carson. It's just like a normal progression of most prospects. Like, you don't just like become a Juan Soto or a Ronald Acuna Jr. All the time. You know, the guys that just get called up and they're just super. Even Mike Trout had a horrible first stint in the major league. So I don't think this is by any means a bad thing that he could start in AAA. I feel like it would be best for his development. And honestly, with how Taylor Walls finished the season, it's not like he deserves it, but
yeah,
I know what I'm going to get with Taylor Walls with the glove, and I know what I'm not going to get with Taylor Walls at the plate. That's a known quantity, so I'm okay with that. Carson Williams right now is a question mark, and I think a question mark leaning negatively right now on the offensive side of things when you're striking out 42% of the time. Man.
Yeah. Heck, I mean, if Hassan Kim wasn't injured like he was, maybe he doesn't get designated for assignment. If he was what we expected him to be, the Rays probably would have said, hey, let's run it back with him, because we know what Taylor Walls is, and we know that Carson Williams needs some more refinement. And who knows, maybe the Rays go out and sign some sort of bridge shortstop to back up Taylor Walls, or vice versa, until Carson Williams is ready. But I'll also say it would be kind of funny or interesting in a way that if Taylor Walls somehow finds a way to win a Gold Glove at the end of this year, that he's not the opening day starter. I mean, at least give him the first game as kind of a tip of the cap for earning that marker there.
Yeah, that's true. No, it would be kind of grim humor in that sense if that weren't to happen. But no, I don't think it's a bad thing. They've done this before, so why not with Carson?
Right, certainly. And he definitely has, we see the talent, especially with the home runs, but what he showcased overall is not sustainable for 162. He definitely needs to work on some things, and you hope that he's able to figure it out this offseason and into spring training, get several weeks in AAA, and we hope that, by mid-May or something like that, he's hitting 300 and his strikeout rate's 25%. And then you can maybe say, all right, now's the time, kid. We're ready for you. And then, because you want to get to a point where you call him up next year and he doesn't have to go back down. That he's up, he gets the playing time, and that's it. You don't have to deal with the shuffling, the up and down sort of a deal that the Rays have a tendency to do with some of the other players there. All right. One guy who will probably not be shuffling up and down, that is Edwin Uceta. That is a guy that we should not be sleeping on. In fact, the Rays might have found their next closer in waiting with him. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It undoubtedly makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little extra something riding on the action. And whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel, they make the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress, I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rugiet makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor, 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and quite frankly, getting back to the moments that matter. So go ahead, don't delay. Visit Rugiet.com/LockedOnMLB to get 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnMLB. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnMLB so they know we sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. Thank you for listening to the Locked On Rays podcast and making us your first listen every day. We appreciate it. We are, of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Ulises, Edwin Uceta should be the closer when Pete Fairbanks is not available. And we know that Pete Fairbanks sometimes isn't available, especially in cold weather with that hand issue that he has during the chillier conditions. But it's funny because, and I know we were mired in the struggles of the Rays. It's hard to talk positively about this team when you're going under 500 and having another losing season. And the wheels are coming off towards the end of the season after, our playoffs were in early September. And then after that, it was donezo. But Edwin Uceta really put it on this year, especially in the second half of the season. He was like a different person, night and day, Jekyll and Hyde, pre-All-Star break and post-All-Star break. And just based on what he did post-All-Star break with the numbers, the strikeouts, the innings pitched, everything, he put it together to the point where, if something were to happen to Pete Fairbanks, at least the second half of the season, I would have been comfortable with putting Uceta in as the closer, as the guy to get the three most important outs of the game.
And if you split his 2025 between the first and second half, like you're saying, it's almost the same in sample size. The first half, he had 40 2/3 innings pitched. The second half, he had 35 1/3, so a 5-inning difference. But look at the difference in ERA, 5.53 to 1.78. What about that whip, though? 1.40 to 0.91. No traffic means no messes. And the strikeout rate, unreal, Kevin, because when he started in the first half, 28.1, that's changed to 36.7%. So he was a completely different pitcher from the beginning to the end. He did a 180, and in fact, he actually became the third Rays reliever to touch triple digits in strikeouts in a season, joining Ryan Yarbrough, who had 106 in 2018, and Brad Boxberger, who had 104 in 2014. So really an astounding 2025 turnaround, and ultimately it just actually became a good season for him.
Yeah, it really did. And again, he's not like a bulk reliever or a long reliever. He's basically one and done, 1 1/3, 1 2/3 done. So for him to get the amount of strikeouts, no disrespect to Ryan Yarbrough, but Ryan Yarbrough is like a 2-3 inning guy. He really didn't strike out a lot of guys.
4 or 5.
He racked up so many innings that he was bound to get over 100 strikeouts at one point in time. But yeah, with Uceta really coming along the second half of the season, and if you look at his pitch mix and some of the highlights, he really does have 3 out pitches between the changeup, the cutter, and the four-seamer, and he's been able to fool hitters on all 3 of those pitches. And
which is what you want from a closer. You want him to miss bats. You want strikeouts from a closer. So if Pete is not available, Edwin is definitely a second option right there.
Yeah, his chase percentage, his whiff percentage, his strikeout percentage, his hard hit rate percentage, it's all in the red or dark red, which is a good thing, folks, if you're looking at the Savant page. And it makes me wonder and think, and this is probably a topic for another time, but last I checked, Pete Fairbanks is going to be owed, what, $12.5 million this year?
Around there because of the incentives. I think it was $7 million, the club option, but there were incentives that could reach up to that high. Yeah,
that's a lot of money for a 1-inning reliever, and a guy who isn't even giving, like, year in and year out. He's not giving you that many innings. Like before this year, I know this year he had a career high in innings with 60 1/3 or whatever it was, but before that, it was like he maxed out at 45 innings. Right. And sometimes there were seasons where he got hurt. So it makes me wonder with what the Rays are going to do with Pete Fairbanks and that salary number that's hanging over his head, especially with Uceta and the strides he showed, and with Biggie pitching in the DR and looking good. And if he's available, I mean, that could be a pretty good 8-9 punch right there for a lot cheaper. And
maybe we could see that 8-9 punch sooner than we think, because apparently last night there were reports coming from the DR that Edwin Uceta might be available to pitch in the DR later on this winter league season. So,
that tells me
December. So Biggie and Uceta could be the 8-9 of that team.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And look, you always worry about relievers and volatility and injury risk and all that. But the fact that we're hearing that Uceta is playing winter league ball, that means he wants it. He is driven to get better and to stay on track. And you would think and hope that he has big things planned for 2026. And then again, maybe he is legitimately, hey, I want to be the closer down the line. I showed enough in the second half of the season where I can be that guy, at least for 2026 and beyond. But, say Pete Fairbanks is back with the team. I mean, you'd rather have Pete Fairbanks than not, but I understand with the Rays, it's always about dollars and cents at the end of the day. But if he was to go down for a spell, I think, as a Rays fan, you should be comfortable and confident with what Uceta can provide with, the three most important outs. Now, sometimes players turn into a different animal, for better or worse, when they're put in that spotlight. But I feel like Uceta has the stuff and the mentality, and he has a unique delivery and motion that it could work if he has to fill in a time or two for Fairbanks next season.
And, he's done it before. He had 1 save in 2025. He had 5 in 2024. So he's no stranger to it. But if that moment were to arise, you'd hope that, the unique delivery, I think, is a big one. When you're getting those last 3 outs, it's coming from a weird angle. It's coming from a weird delivery for a hitter. To kind of get that tunneling from Edwin, that might be a little bit more difficult when you know that you have to succeed in order to win the game from the opposition side. So hopefully if he does that, get that shot, it's a positive one for Edwin.
Yes. Now we just need some more help with pitching across the board. Just make sure there's enough bodies there to fix in all the holes that are in the bullpen when guys go down with injuries or struggle at a point of time. The other thing, did we even mention that Uceta had 10 wins this season?
I know wins are, overrated and not looked at as a stat, but still, like, he is putting up like starter level strikeouts and double-digit wins. Yeah, it's odd. It's odd. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Hey, guys are, they put it together when he's on the mound, evidently. So, but yeah, we'll definitely be focusing more on all these players in the offseason, because, folks, it is a long offseason if you're a Rays fan. It's a long offseason if you're a Dodgers or Blue Jays fan.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're gonna have player reviews. We got a lot of fun stuff planned. So,
and you know what? If you guys have ideas, we'll shoot them our way. Put them up down in the YouTube comments. You guys should know that we are reading whatever you guys on. We put the YouTube comments on the show very, very often. So don't be a stranger on ideas if you'd like to put them down.
Put it in the comments. Email us, lockedonrays@gmail.com. We'll be having mailbag episodes. You send us a good idea, we might make a full episode out of that. So we are open to it all because, like we said, it is a long off season. On that note, we do hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you later.